Now I will practice for 15 minutes. Book Can't Hurt Me by David. Plus, the sea was choppy as hell. I drank sea water, my stomach flipped and flopped like a fish suffocating in fresh air, and I puked a half dozen times at least. Because of the pain, my poor mechanics and the strong current, I swam a meandering line that stretched to 7.5 miles. All of that in order to clear what was supposed to be a 6.2 mile swim. My legs were jelly when I staggered to shore, and my vision rocked like a teeter totter during an earthquake. I had to lie down, then crawl behind the bathrooms where I vomited again. Other swimmers gathered in the transition area hopped into their saddles and paddled off into the lava fields in a blink. We still had a 90-mile bike ride to knock off before the day was done, and they were getting after it while I was still on my knees. Right on time, these simple questions bubbled to the surface. Why the fuck am I even out here? I am not a triathlete. I am kept to hell, sick as fuck, and the first part of the ride is all uphill. Why do you keep doing this to yourself, Goggins? Why do you keep doing this to yourself, Goggins? I sounded like a whiny bitch, but I knew finding some comfort would help me hem my vagina. So I paid no attention to the other athletes who aged through their transition. I had to focus on getting my legs under me and slowing my spun out mind. First, I got some food down a little at a time. Then I treated the cuts under my arms. Most triathletes don't change their clothes. I did. I slipped on some comfortable bike shorts and a lycra shirt, and 15 minutes later, I was upright in the saddle and climbing into the lava field. For the first 20 minutes, I was still nauseous. I paddled and puked, replenished my fluids, and puked again. Through it all, I gave myself one job: stay in the fight, and puked again. Through it all, I gave myself one job: stay in the fight, stay in it long enough to find a foothold. 10 miles later, as the road rose onto the shoulders of a giant volcano and the incline increased, I shook off my sea legs and found momentum. Riders appeared ahead like bogies on a radar, and I picked them off one by one. Victory was a cure all. Each time I passed another motherfucker, I got less and less sick. I was in 14th place when I saddled up, but by the time I approached the end of that 90-mile leg, there was only one man in front of me, Gary Wong, the favorite in the race. As I hammered toward the finish line, I could see a reporter and photographer from Triathlete magazine interviewing him. None of them expected to see my black ass, and they all watched me carefully. During the 4 months since Badwater, I had often dreamed of being in position to win an ultra race. And as I coasted past Gary and those reporters, I knew the moment had arrived, and my expectations were intergalactic. The following morning, we lined up for the second stage, a 171-mile bike ride through the mountains and back toward the west coast. Gary Wang had a buddy in the race, Jeff Landure, aka the Land Shark, and those two rode together. Gary had done the race before and knew the terrain. I didn't, and by mile 100, I was roughly 6 minutes off the lead. As usual, my mother and Kate were my two-headed support crew. They handed me replacement water bottles, packets of GU, and protein drinks from the side on the road, which I consumed in motion to keep my glycogen and electrolyte levels up. I had become much more scientific about my nutrition since that Myoplex and Ritz cracker meltdown in San Diego. And with the biggest climb of the day looming into view, I needed to be ready to roar. On a bicycle, mountains produce pain, and pain was my business. As the road peaked in pitch, I put my head down and hammered as hard as I could. My lungs heaved until they were flipped inside out and back again. My heart was a pounding bass line. When I crested the pass, my mom pulled up alongside me and hollered, David, you are 2 minutes off the lead. Roger that. I curled into an aerodynamic crouch and shot downhill at over 40 mph. My borrowed Griffin was equipped with aero bars and I leaned over them, focusing only on the white dotted line and my perfect form. When the road leveled off, I went all out and kept my pace up around 27 mph. I had a land shark and his buddy on an industrial side hook and was reeling them all the way in until my front tire blew. Before I had time to react, I was off the bike, somersaulting over the handlebars into space. I could see it happening in slow motion, but time sped back up when I crashed, landed on my right side, and my shoulder cramped with blunt force. The side of my face skidded the asphalt until I stopped moving, and I rolled onto my back in shock. My mother slammed on her brakes, leaped from the car, and rushed over. I was bleeding in 5 places, but nothing felt broken except my helmet, which was cracked in two, my sunglasses, which were shattered, and my bicycle. I had run over a bolt that pierced the tire tube and rim. I did not pay attention to my road rash, the pain in my shoulder, or the blood dribbling down my elbow and cheek. All I thought about was that bicycle. Once again, I was underprepared. I had no spare parts. I had no spare parts. No, I had no spare parts and didn't have any clue how to change a tube or a tire. I had rented a backup bicycle which was in my mom's rental car, but it was a heavy, slow piece of shit compared to that Griffin. It didn't even have clip in pedals, so I called for the office race mechanics to assess the Griffin. As we waited, seconds piled up into 20 precious minutes, and when mechanics arrived, they didn't have supply to fix my front wheel either, so I hopped on my clunky backup and kept rolling. I tried not to think of bad luck and missed opportunities. I needed to finish strong and get myself within striking distance by the end of the day because day 3 would bring a double marathon and I was convinced that I was the best runner in the field. 16 miles, 16 miles, 16 miles, 16 miles, 16 miles. 16 miles from the finish line, the bike mechanic tracked me down. He had repaired my Griffin. I switched out my hardware for the second time and made up 8 minutes on the leaders, finishing the day in third place, 22 minutes off the lead. I crafted a simple strategy for day 3. Go out hard and build up a fat cushion over Gary and the land shark so that when I hit the inevitable wall, I had have enough distance to maintain the overall lead all the way to the finish line. In other words, I did not have any strategy at all. I began my run at Boston Marathon qualifying pace. I pushed hard because I wanted my competitors to hear my splits and forfeit their souls as I built that big lead I had anticipated. I knew I would blow up somewhere. I knew I would blow up somewhere. That's ultra life. I just hoped it would happen late enough in the race that Gary and the land shark would be content to race one another for second and give up all hope of winning the overall title. Did not happen. quite like that, did not happen quite like that. At mile 35, I was already in agony and walking more than I was running. By mile 40, I watched both enemy vehicles pull up so their crew chiefs could peep my form. I was showing a ton of weakness, which gave Gary and the land shark ammunition. The miles mounted too slowly. I hemorrhaged time. Luckily, by mile 45, Gary had blown up too, but the land shark was rock solid, still on my ass, and I did not have anything left to fight him off. Instead, as I suffered and staggered toward downtown Kona, my lead evaporated. In the end, the land shark taught me a vital lesson. From day one, he had run his own race. My early burst on day 3 did not faze him. He welcomed it as the ill conceived strategy that it was, focused on his own pace, waited me out, and took my soul. I was the first athlete to cross the finish line of the ultra marathon that year, but as far as the clock was concerned, I was no champion. While I came in first place on the run, I lost the overall race by 10 minutes and took second place. The land shark was crowned Ultraman. I watched him celebrate, knowing exactly how I had wasted an opportunity to win. I had lost my vantage point. I had never evaluated the race strategically and didn't have any backstops in place. Backstops are a versatile tool that I employ in all facets of my life. I wo- I was lead navigator when I operated in Iraq with the SEAL teams, and backstop is a navigation term. It's the mark I made on my map, an alert that we had missed a turn or veered off course. Let's say you are navigating through the woods and you have to go one click toward a ridge line, then make a turn. In the military, we would do a map study ahead of time and mark that turn on our maps, and another point about 200 meters past that turn, and a third and additional 150 meters past the second mark. Those last two marks are your backstops. Typically, I use terrain features like roads, creeks, a giant cliff in the countryside, or landmark buildings in an urban setting, so that when we hit them, I knew we had gone off course. That's what backstops are for, to tell you to turn around races and take an alternative route to accomplish the same mission. I never left our base in Iraq without having three exit strategies, a primary route and two others. Pinned to backstops we could fall back to if our main route became compromised. One day, three of Ultraman, I tried to win with sheer will. I was all motor, no intellect. I did not evaluate my condition, respect my opponent's hurt, or manage the clock well enough. I had no primary strategy, let alone alternative avenues to victory, and therefore I had no idea where to employ backstops. In retrospect, I should have paid more attention to my own clock, and my backstops should have been placed on my split times. When I saw how fast I was running that first marathon, I should have been alarmed and ease off the gas. A slower first marathon may have left me with enough energy to drop the hammer once we were back in the lava fields on the Ironman course heading down the finish line. That's when you take someone's soul at the end of a race, not at the beginning. I had raced hard, but if I had run smarter and handled the bike situation better, I would have given myself a better chance to win. Still, coming in second place at Ultraman was no disaster. I raised good money for families in need and booked more positive ink for the seals in triathlete and competitor magazines. Navy brass took notice. One morning, I was called into a meeting with Admiral Ed Winters, a two-star admiral and the top man at Naval Special Warfare Command. When you are an enlisted guy and here an admiral wants a word, your ass sort of puckers up. He was not supposed to seek me out. There was a chain of command in place specifically to prevent conversations between rear admirals and enlisted men like me. Without any warning, that was all out the window, and I had a feeling it was my own fault. Thanks to the positive media I had generated, I had received orders to join the recruitment division in 2007, and by the time I was ordered into Admiral's office, I had done plenty of public speaking on behalf of Navy SEALs. But I was different than most of the other recruiters. I didn't just parrot the Navy's script. I always included my own life journey off and cuff. As I waited outside the Admiral's office, I closed my eyes and flipped through memory files, searching for when and how I had overstepped and embraced the seals. I was the picture of tension, sitting stiff and alert, sweating through my uniform when he opened the door to his office. That's it for the day. 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 See the difference in the pronunciation when I speak. That's it for the day. That's it for the day. Speak from your lips, not from your mouth or like this. That's it for the day. That's it for the day. That's it for the day.